Now, this event that you've booked onto is the World Coaching and Leadership Summit. So you'll hear from 13 wonderful speakers in a TED-style environment, delivering talks to inspire and educate you. You'll have a range of backgrounds from the speakers that will be delivering today. So you'll get a diverse range of interests and information that will really help you to move forward. I'm incredibly passionate about the world of personal development and what it can do for people. As a public speaker, I think this is one of the best ways to help influence others and make the world a better place by speaking, sharing your truth through your own experiences in hopes to help other people. Now, my own journey began many years ago, and I never thought I'd be on a stage delivering talks to many different people. I went through a lot of my own mental health issues, went through a lot of burnout in my career, climbing that ladder, the corporate ladder of success, and it didn't end up very good for me. I used to be a chef. I went through a lot of burnout. And at the end of that journey, I had to rebuild. I had to go through my own personal development journey by reading, getting coaching and support. And at the end of that journey, I began speaking about things that helped me. And by being around different people, sharing a journey that I thought was able to have an impact on others, I saw the effect. And I've been addicted to that process ever since. I've been speaking for about 7 years now on hundreds of stages, nationally, internationally. And I think the benefit of coming to an event like this for all of you is to be in a powerful environment, to hear from 13 other people's stories, their journeys, where they're coming from, where they're going to, is powerful. And if you're able to take a couple of things from each speaker away that can benefit you, it's going to make tonight a success. Now that we're going back out of the COVID-19 pandemic into a more people-oriented world, engaging back with each other, being in events like this, it's so important to help us to rebuild, get a bit of that strength, a bit of that confidence, and to move towards our own goals. So engage with our speakers tonight. They'll be speaking from a range of 8 to 12 minutes. I'll go through a process of introducing them to the stages, but they're from all over the world, here to help delight and educate you. I'll share with you our speakers' order, so you have an idea of who is going to be delivering this evening. So in the first half, we have got 7 speakers. 4 of them are headline speakers who will be delivering for 10 minutes, showcasing their skills. People like Leslie Simpson Gray will be your first speaker, talking about how COVID was the greatest gift to the world of therapy. But as we progress, you'll hear from a range of people who are in the coaching fields, humanitarian fields. In the second half, you'll hear another wonderful 7 or 6 speakers. My math isn't that great. 6 speakers who are coaches, educators, service-based professionals that are here to help you to move forward. A wonderful range of people that I'm incredibly grateful for, who we've managed to source for an event like this. Your role as an audience is to enjoy. So when you hear some of the speakers be delivering, what I recommend is your way to engage with them, because obviously you're all going to be muted for the event. If you enjoy the talk, you can applaud. The best way to applaud an event like this is by typing into the chat box the letter A. So if you type in A, that means that you enjoyed the speech. Now, if you loved the speech, thank you, Aaliyah, you're loving it already. If you loved the speech, guess what happens? We type a lot of A's. So that's your way after each speaker has delivered to engage, show your support, and Aaliyah, indeed, you are with me. So fantastic. And also, if you do listen to our speakers, you want to engage and follow up with them, they'll often be able to do that in the chat box. You can engage with us and they can find a way to reach out to you. Many of them will maybe have contact information to share with you at the end of their talks. So you're welcome to stay in touch with them. And I definitely recommend doing that, especially for the ones that really connect well. So without further ado, everybody, I'm going to welcome on our first speaker for this evening. Are you ready? Is my question. And if I don't have a lot of yeses in the chat box, we won't begin. All right, good. We've got some thumbs up, we've got some claps, we've got some yeses. Wonderful. So our first speaker for this evening, as I mentioned earlier on, is Leslie Simpson Gray. Now, Leslie is an experienced cyber psychotherapist. She combines a successful background in marketing communications, along with a history of working with creative arts and virtual reality. She has developed her own brand of immersive therapy experiences in her private practice. Leslie also runs a range of cyber creativity workshops and programs for healthcare service individuals and organizations. She's passionate about helping clinical professionals to break through personal limiting learning barriers and discover how digital tools and creative confidence can enrich their online practice. With a speech entitled, "COVID was the greatest gift to the world of therapy," please welcome Leslie.
Thank you, Josh. The social worker arrived. My bags were packed, and I sat in silence in the back seat of her car, and she drove me away from the little council house with the blue door that reminded me of the sea and the sky and freedom. She drove me so far away as I pressed my face up against the glass, and it wasn't long before I didn't recognise anything or anyone or anywhere anymore. Drove me away. I had no idea what foster care was all about. I was only 8. No idea about the awkward silences whenever I walked into the room. And I made up stories about myself and about my family. You see, yesterday I had 2 sisters and a brother, and today I was an only child. I grew up at a time when children were seen and not heard, and I was definitely not heard. You see, speaking up would often mean that you felt the back of somebody's hand, or worse. So I learned how to move on very quietly. Don't say a word, no fuss, keep going. And I did keep going. And the only way that I dared to go back to the little girl in the council house was through music and art and dance and books and films and anything creative that I could lay my hands on to fill the hour after hour after hour of anxiously waiting, hoping, praying, longing. Can I go home now? And it filled the massive void between the world where I was then and where I wanted to be. I thought I'd make a brilliant psychotherapist. I could maybe help other children who were going through the same things that I went through. And after 7 years of training and studying, do you know what they said to me? Leslie, you don't quite fit in here. You don't really sort of make the mark. In fact, you don't have what it takes to be a psychotherapist. And my 8-year-old was livid. And I was gutted. That same year, the British Association of Counsellors and Psychotherapists did their own survey to find out what your average counsellor therapist looked like. 86% are women. She works between 12 and 13 hours a week, and she earns less than £10,000. And that's why she's out doing a side hustle of public speaking. No, seriously. In marketing terms, she is an academic overachiever. She is not the main breadwinner. She wouldn't be on that money. She likes to buy books and wine online. She drives a sports car and she lives in a detached house, and she's got an iPhone. And the thing is, I've got an iPhone and I like books, but that's where the similarity ends. And my 8-year-old knew it. And I had to admit it too, that maybe they were right and I didn't fit in. And I wanted to yell and shout at somebody to let them know it wasn't fair, but I didn't. I quietly moved on. I passed my exams and I snatched my MA and I walked away. And 5 years later, I've got my own psychotherapy practice and I'm doing okay, thank you very much. And then came COVID. Turned up unannounced, just like that social worker did. And the thing is, my 8-year-old was ready for her. She wanted to yell at her and say, listen, I got taken away the last time. It's someone else's turn this time. I get to stay. I've worked too hard. I want to stay this time. Now, I don't have a thing about all social workers, just that social worker, because she had way too much power to change my life and my family's life forever. And just like her, COVID decided to take away my income, my clients, my professional profile, whatever that was worth. It threatened my health and the health of my family and my friends and everything that felt stable and secure. Now, I can hear you saying to yourself, Leslie, I thought you said COVID was a good thing, the best thing, a gift for your therapy. Oh, it was. It was a game changer. It shook up the status quo. And for the first time ever, we were all in the same boat. And I've never felt closer to my clients whose world had also been snatched away, never to return. You see, for the first time, 8-year-old Leslie got out from the back seat of the car and she climbed in and took the wheel. And she said, Leslie, we've been here before. You know what to do. And for the first time, I listened to her gut feel that says, do you know what? Something big and forever is about to go down, and it's going to go down now. And you need to pack your bags. You need to take all of your creativity, because that's what's going to make sure that you stay true to yourself and that you can bear hour after hour of unbearable anxiety. And she said, do it now, because otherwise you're going to end up in a world that you don't recognize, and you don't recognize anything or anyone, and it will feel terrifying, and you'll be waiting for the new normal to arrive. In fact, is this the new normal? In fact, does this world sound familiar to you right now? My 8-year-old had 3 questions. First, who are you and who do you want to be? Of course, you see, when there's major change, I get to make up who I want to be. And I got to redesign my psychotherapy practice so that I was the therapist I wanted to be. So I got to offer my sessions so that they were more accessible to ethnic minorities, to people with special needs, to people who just didn't like to be face to face. I got to offer sessions that worked for working families, evenings, weekends. I was online, I could do that. I could offer sessions to children who hated being in school or were excluded from school or didn't want to leave their homes in the middle of COVID, because they could have their sessions wherever they wanted to be. And I got to play online like the kids were playing. And when it comes to playing, my 8-year-old was having an amazing time. She was learning to play with avatars and virtual reality and some immersive worlds and kingdoms, and she wasn't afraid of a digital world. Next question. She said, Leslie, is COVID going to be the last major change that the world is going to see for good or bad? No. You see, if we don't do something to avert the next environmental crisis, what impact is that going to have on all of our mental health? So I got to make a choice and a change, and to say driving around for hour after hour to see a handful of clients is not sustainable for my practice or for my planet. Now, you might be saying to me, Leslie, you didn't fit in, but I do. I fitted into that profile you talked about earlier, and I am that middle-aged therapist. And you know what? It's not my main job, but I like what I do, and I don't see why I should have to change. I'll say to you, who's sustaining your world, and for how long? Maybe, like me, you're self-employed and you have to be everything to everybody 24 hours a day, and it is exhausting. Who's got the time to find out about that digital stuff? Maybe you work for an organisation and they make all the choices. And so if they say work face to face, then you do. But when did you stop taking a personal responsibility for your professional future? Or did you think that you were always going to be that 8-year-old who doesn't have a voice and a choice and a say in the world, a digital world? We are all grown up. We all have a voice and a say. Third question, and it's a long one. If COVID was the game changer that meant that we could all see the world differently and do something creative and be the professionals that we want to do and to be, what's stopping you from becoming more creative and more competent and more confident online? What's stopping you from joining hundreds of other therapists and counsellors who I've supported to make their change and to do it now? Therapists who I've supported to go from anxious to awesome in 6 weeks. Because you see, my Cyber Creative Confidence Challenge is there to guide you and to challenge you and to take you further away from home than you've ever been before. But I am with you in every step of the learning journey. And you might be wondering what happened to that little 8-year-old girl. Did she ever make it back to the council estate and the house with the blue door? No, she didn't. Instead, she learned how to snatch every opportunity to change and to grow. And that is why she is still here today. That is the key to managing and thriving in a world which is full of uncertainty and forever changing. Your challenge is to work out whether you are going to take advantage and the opportunity that COVID gave us all to change and to grow and to do it today, now. Change before you have to. My 8-year-old says, it's not what happens to you that matters. It's the way that you respond. Go on, I dare you, take my Cyber Creative Confidence Challenge. Do it today. I'll be waiting to support you in the next chapter of your journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. Thank you. And lots of A's and R's in the chat box there. Flying in with support for a great talk. Really appreciate you, Leslie. Thank you for coming in and sharing that. And again, if you do have any questions for any of the speakers this evening, feel free to send them questions, find ways to follow up with them if you'd like, and we can all help you to move forward. So I think the challenge of COVID affected a lot of people in a lot of different ways. So having the ability to adapt, to thrive. I had a conversation yesterday with somebody that who was going through a similar sort of difficulty, but said that they managed to grow during lockdown. After the initial difficulty, it forced them to step out of their comfort zone, to learn, grow, and do things differently. So yeah, great speech. That really highlights a lot of the things that we need to start doing. Leslie's email is in the chat box as well for those that want to follow up and speak about opportunities moving forward. Okay, great. So this is going to be the theme, what's going to happen this evening, folks. We'll have a lot of different talks with a very different style and flavour from each one of them, allowing you just to enjoy the speech. I like the triple A from Duper in there as well. Very good. This is great. Our next speaker for the evening is going to be Jacqueline Wilson. Now, Jacqueline is a public speaker and a certified nutrition and healthy lifestyle coach. She's also the founder of Jackie Wellness Boost, which has also helped support numerous women struggling with weight loss and weight-related health issues to meet their health goals. As a speaker, Jackie uses her professional coaching skills as well as her range of personal health experiences, challenges, and wins to be able to inspire, motivate, and promote wellness and healthy living in an engaging, actionable, and refreshing way. With a speech entitled, "There is more to food than just your belly," please welcome Jacqueline.
Thank you, Josh. Let food be thy medicine, and medicine be thy food. Eat well to feel well. There was a time in my life when I felt so alienated and detached from my body. And that was because at the time I was going through a lot of changes, which were not just in my head, but were actually very real. I was experiencing physical and emotional changes in my body, which I had no control over. Most importantly, at the time, I was experiencing changes in my body that affected me and everything that formed a part of my life. And yes, at the time, I didn't understand what was going on with me. Well, I was a 42-year-old woman, and the transition into menopause had slowly crept up on me and rudely knocked me to the ground. Yes, that's right. I was experiencing the physical, mental, and emotional symptoms which can happen during the transitional period leading up to the menopause. The menopause is a natural physiological aspect of womanhood, like puberty and pregnancy. But at the time, there was no social awareness, education, or support on the subject. Women knew that it would happen, but not quite clear what to expect and how to recognize it and manage it when it did finally happen. Here are some facts. The menopause affects all women, but it's an individualized experience with different start times and different levels of symptoms. It can occur anytime from the age of 45 to 55, but the average age at which women hit menopause is 51. And it's officially diagnosed when a woman has had a menstrual period for 12 consecutive months because the ovaries are no longer releasing eggs. However, there is a transitional period leading up to menopause called perimenopause, which can last from a few months or even up to 8 years for some women. During perimenopause, the female sex hormones, estrogen and progesterone, decline, which is due to reduction in its production by the ovaries. Now, hormones are very important as they help to regulate the body's metabolism, sleep cycle, mood, appetite, body temperature, sleep drive, and the immune system. Therefore, it's no surprise that the slightest imbalance of these female sex hormones can have a noticeable effect on a woman's mental, emotional, and physical health, with a staggering total of 34 possible symptoms. Yes, 34. I had mood swings. I was irritable and full of anxiety. 1 minute I was happy. The next I was an emotional wreck. I struggled with insomnia and poor quality sleep. It was frustrating finding it so difficult to fall asleep and to stay asleep. Can you just imagine what it's like to always feel fatigued, to have a constant headache and dizzy spells? Even my cognitive functions were affected. I was becoming more forgetful and finding it very difficult to focus and concentrate on a task. I can recall when once I got into my car to drive to my local superstore and suddenly forgot how to get to a store where I had shopped in for the last 20 years. Then came the flaky, itchy skin, heart palpitations, night sweats, and hot flashes. To be frank, I was a mess. I was lashing out at my loved ones and everyone around me. I felt unproductive, and the job I enjoyed was affected. I was unhappy and sometimes misunderstood. I could not continue to live this way. In the meantime, my doctor had informed me that I was clinically obese and needed to work on my diet, as I was also pre-diabetic and my blood pressure, cholesterol, and blood sugar levels were all abnormally high. I had heard that the hormone replacement therapy treatment was a medical solution to the symptoms associated with menopause. But my health challenges and the media news linking the hormone replacement therapy treatment to breast cancer, blood clots, and stroke caused me to doubt my suitability of this treatment. What a calamity. The one treatment which was meant to help reduce my suffering was not even an option. I felt like all hope was lost. My life had been turned upside down for 3 whole years. It was time to take action. There had to be a better way. I started doing some research to learn more about my health, and out of interest, I decided to pursue a study in food nutrition and health science. What I learned was an eye-opener. I learned that food was more than just filling up my belly when hungry, as it's also about providing the essential nutrients required for the body's functioning, healing, and prevention of sickness, just as nature intended. I soon became intentional with my diet and lifestyle habits and learned how to clean and heal my body's metabolism naturally through food so that I could lose weight and keep the weight off for good and regain my health and vitality with my blood sugar, blood pressure, and cholesterol levels all back to normal. I excitedly shared my newly certified knowledge with my husband, a few close friends, and family members who were also concerned about their own personal health challenges. And the positive outcome and feedback I received inspired the foundation of Jackie Wellness Boost, which has continued to support numerous women struggling with weight loss and weight-related health issues. A wise man once said, "Knowledge is liberty." Another wise man said, "An investment in knowledge pays the best interest." These wise men were spot on, because during my studies, I understood how I'd been harming my body with my poor nutrition and lifestyle choices. So fake and processed foods are all linked to metabolic disorders such as high blood pressure and abnormal blood sugar levels. Fake and processed foods are also linked to various menopausal symptoms such as hot flashes, night sweat, and weight gain. Alcohol and caffeine are linked to hot flashes, and they are also sleep disruptors. So it was worth avoiding, especially close to my bedtime, because I was always suffering with insomnia and chronic fatigue. Delicious and nutritious meals made from wholesome foods became my proverbial medicine. I now know about foods that help relieve menopausal symptoms. A diet of fresh vegetables, leafy greens, fresh fruits, and foods rich in calcium, magnesium, vitamins D, vitamin K, healthy fats, and omega-3, as well as quality protein and whole grain foods rich in fiber and vitamin B, all made a vast improvement in the management of my perimenopause symptoms. What a relief. I'm still on that transitional journey to menopause. And I'm taking care of myself as best as I can, emotionally, mentally, and physically through exercise and wholesome, nutritious food. So far, my experience has been completely positive, as I now feel healthier and happier within myself. Through all my personal health struggles, experiences, and wins, I have come to appreciate that Mother Nature has provided us with food to prevent disease and sickness. And she has also provided us with food to nourish and heal us. So let's not continue to ignorantly stuff our belly with anything and everything. Remember to eat well, to feel well. Let food be thy medicine, and medicine be thy food. Thank you.
So I'm just going to share a slide from Jackie as well, which is a wonderful means of following up with Jacqueline and being able to find out a bit more about what it is that she does. But a great speech, really appreciate this. And I think it's one of the topics that affects everybody, male and female, the menopause. We're all around people that go through this. And I think having information to help people on that journey, to inform us about these things that probably should be taught, but seems so hard to find the information until you actually come across being in that situation itself. So I really appreciate you, Jacqueline, for sharing that. And again, information is on the screen right now for those that want to follow up and learn more about some of the work that Jackie does and how to get in touch with her about that work. So lots of R's and A's in the chat box as well, which is great. And I feel really grateful for being in an event like this today, hearing from some wonderful speakers on these diverse topics, but again, ones that are going to affect all of us. And I think there's such a strength in absorbing this sort of information on a regular basis. It'll put you leaps and bounds ahead of other people. You know, it's speaking to educate. I love listening to TED Talks and whatnot. Motivational speakers are great. But these TED-style environment talks, I feel like have got so much depth to them that allow you to move forward. I grew up in Hull, in Yorkshire, in England, and where I was brought up in a council estate, the information was very limited. You know, you're in this really small bubble of people that like very similar things: football, alcohol, and work, and relationships. And that was pretty much it. And for a long time, that's what I thought life was all about, because my environment was that what it told me about. That's all I learned about. That's all I was spending my time in. When you start to stretch that comfort zone, stretch that environment and get around interesting, more diverse people, it allows you to have more original thoughts. Thinking about the things that you really care about, want to hear about, finding parts of your personality and being able to move forward. So again, I'm really grateful for all these talks, and especially Jacqueline that's just delivered. Thank you very, very much. So we're on to the third speaker for this evening out of 13. Yasmin, you've raised your hand. If you've got a question, feel free to pop it into the chat box, and I'm happy to answer anything that does pop up. Otherwise, it may have been a misclick, which does happen quite often. So our third speaker for this evening is Denise Roberts. Now, Denise is a holistic book coach, editor, and publishing strategist who started her writing career as a current affairs journalist. Her mission in life is to help people to find and tell their real stories, and not the stories that society imposes upon them. Denise is the founder of the Editor's Chair and the Book Gym, with a speech entitled, I love this, "No, Mr. Gable, I will not sit down." Please welcome Denise.
Thank you, Josh. There I was in the school assembly hall, sat cross-legged with my classmates, listening to Mr. Gable, our head teacher. I was just 7 years old and excited to have joined the juniors. I was excited about the new experience that lay ahead for me. And Mr. Gable said, "We're recruiting for the new school choir. Who wants to join?" And something inside me made me jump up and stand to the front with all the other children. One by one, the children were asked to sing. And soon it was my turn. And I stood there staring at 220 pairs of eyes staring back at me, finger in my mouth like a shy child taught to be seen and not heard. I was trying to muster up the strength, the courage to let the sound out when Mr. Gable suddenly said, "Go and sit down. We can't have children who sing with their fingers in their mouths." The hall closed in. Embarrassed, I slithered back into the hole that I'd left in between my classmates. And that was the end of my ambition to join the school choir. It was how I lived for the next 40 odd years of my life as a girl, a teenager, a young woman who could not speak in front of people, who didn't go for what she wanted, as someone who felt awkward and like she didn't belong. It's why I took the bag load of low self-esteem that I left school with and went into one low-paid job after another. Inside, I was screaming, there must be something more to life for me than this. And then one day I read a book, and it made me see that I had inside me the power to change my life. I didn't have to accept or put up with the stereotypes that I saw in my environment. I could change. This is where I began my career as a journalist and as an editor. Over the course of my career, I've written content that has exposed inequalities, that has helped people to manage injustices, helped people struggling with MS, supported the continuing professional development of physiotherapists, that has shown parents how to navigate the school education system. My voice was making a difference. Even so, it turned out that those stereotypes ran far deeper than I thought. I sabotaged many of the opportunities that came my way. Without realizing it, I built on those narratives. Then in 2008, I decided that I needed to get face to face with myself. I had to find out what was it that was sabotaging my potential. Around that time, I was writing in my journal, and I laughed as I thought back to that day with Mr. Gable. Something inside me asked, what on earth made me stand up that day? And then the penny dropped. It was me. It was the real me. It was the me that did go for things. It was the me that could speak in front of people, the me that was bold and adventurous, the me that stood up to life. Suddenly I was back there in that hall, and I saw myself as that little 7-year-old, and I saw that big Mr. Gable, and I heard this voice come out of my belly, and it said, "No, Mr. Gable, I will not sit down." Why am I telling you all of this? Because I believe that every single one of us has a Mr. Gable in our past, someone who told us that we wouldn't, that we couldn't and we shouldn't, someone that convinced us to live a half-told story, stories that aren't true, stories that aren't ours. Are you living a story that does not belong to you? There are 3 ways to know whether you have a story inside you that's waiting to unfold. You live your life like a parrot, copying what other people say. You live your life like a puppet, being controlled by what other people say. You live your life like a wallflower. You never know what you have to say. If you feel like there's more to your life than you're currently living, then you will understand what I'm saying. As Madeleine Albright said, it took me quite a time to develop a voice. And now that I found it, I will not be silent. That's why I've made it my life's work to support other people along the journey who want to rewrite their stories. People that want to retell their personal, their career, and their business stories by writing a book that transforms their lives. Welcome to the Real Story of You. The Real Story of You is not just a book coaching program. It's a program about publishing you, the real you that's living an authentic and intentional life. This program will help you to uncover the story that you really need to share with the world. It will help you to identify your message, your mission, and your market, and to build that around your book. It will welcome you into a supportive community as you go all out to create the kind of life and future that you really should be living. We're going to break free of the narratives that don't help you to live your best and biggest life. And together, we're going to stand up and say, "No, Mr. Gable, I will not sit down." Thank you.
Thank you. Awesome. Awesome delivery. I'm in awe of that delivery. It's how good it was. All the R's coming in thick and fast before, during, and after that talk. And it was a powerhouse of a speech. I think we've all had, or a lot of us have had an experience of a Mr. Gable at some point in our lives that felt quite empowering for somebody to say no, almost for me, to put that self down, that voice down that doesn't need to be there anymore. Awesome. Really thank you, Denise, for that amazing talk. Well done. And thinking about books from an audience perspective, just to get a bit of engagement from you, have there been any books that have really inspired or transformed things for you on your journey? I remember the first book that I got involved with that helped my personal change was by Anthony Robbins, and Awaken the Giant Within was the title. Really helped me. I'd love if you can share some of your Favorite books into the chat box over the next 5 minutes, things that have really changed and inspired you. I'm sure that you'll all appreciate some references. I always get asked for them when I speak or deliver workshops. So yeah, very curious. That's your next challenge, to pop that into the chat box as I welcome on our next speaker for the evening. Now, our next speaker is Fernando Vargas Cortez. Now, Fernando is an industrial engineer and professional coach from Colombia who moved to the UK over 13 years ago. He's passionate about personal growth, relationships, and social dynamics. He's been working for a number of years with people that are looking for more clarity and improvement in their life. He's on a continuous journey of self-discovery and self-actualization. Drive, as he considers, should be practiced and promoted in everybody's life. With a speech entitled, "Change is the Way to Happiness," please welcome Fernando.
Thank you, Yosh. You cannot be happy. You cannot be happy. That's what I used to say to myself a long time ago. Let's just start this with a short story of how everything started. So it was 2016. My marriage was over for good this time. I was doing a job that I was not really satisfied. There was something missing in that. It was something like I was like, is this life? Is this what actually I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life? Having a job, having a good income that allows me to have my life, the lifestyle that I wanted. So I said to myself, like, no, I think that I need to do a stop in my life right now. So I decided to go and do a reality check. I said, like, okay, like, let's understand what is happening up till now. How did I get to this point? As well, what do I want to be in 10 years' time? And also, how I'm going to act. Because I was not really satisfied with my life at that point. So I said, like, something needs to change, and something needs to change now. It was a journey. This took a lot of time to realize where I was and to answer these questions. But I had to make a realization. I had to think about it, like, what has been affecting me, influencing my life. And I realized that it was my parents, my friends, and my partners. My parents are amazing people. They have a fantastic set of values. They're very Catholic. They're very conservative. They're always looking to do the best that they can for others. But their values and my values, at some point, they were not aligned. I am gay. I realized that I was gay as well. Also at the time, and it was really difficult because I had to live a double life. I had to go through bullying, to harassment, through depression, and even suicidal thoughts, just by myself, on my own. But it helped me. I mean, I managed to carry on changing throughout all those phases of my life and the challenges to get to a point that I said, like, yes, okay, I'm fine with my life. Then my friends, they are amazing people. They were really important in my life because they allowed me to be who I was. Who I was just by myself. No judgments, no resentments. It was difficult at the beginning for them, but we managed to get there. And then my partners. So my partners, I was always looking to have that relationship that my parents have, the one for each other. But I end up having really bad relationships, most of them quite toxic. Some of them were abusive psychologically, and some of them were abusive physically. But after I realized how I was influenced, I said, like, okay, I think it is time to be myself, to take control of my life. Not because for my parents or my friends or my partners, just because of me. And that's when I decided to change. So like, okay, what I have been looking all my life, what I always wanted to do all my life. And I was always very passionate about human being and human mind and social interactions. And so like, well, it's time for me to do it. And I started changing. I changed my job. I did a master's in psychology. I qualified myself as a transformational coach. I decided what type of relationship I want to have in my life, positive relationships. I didn't want to have any more toxicity. But it was not simple. It was not that easy. It was a really hard journey, but I loved every single bit of it. It was amazing. So amazing that I'm still on the journey, but I love every single bit of it. Right now, I can say, yes, I am a happy person. I've failed sometimes, but I have stand up and carry on, because that's what his life is going to be. Life will come with changes. Sometimes it's going to be good, and sometimes it's going to be bad. But we need to learn, adjust, and then move forward. So I'm going to invite you to ask yourself 3 questions. The first one, how happy are you right now in your life? Is it everything perfect? Or is it something that you should like to change? Ask yourself as well, what is holding you back that is not allowing you to be fully happy? And then think about those things coming into your mind. And the last question is, how are you going to act on it? If you don't act, you will just carry on there, living life, seeing it pass through your life, through your eyes. And I don't think that that is the aim of human being. We are all looking for happiness at the end of the day. We want to enjoy this world. We want to enjoy our life. It is not an easy process. It requires time, it requires effort, it requires compromise. But it is worth it. It is worth it to go through it. Because if you don't do it, at some point in the future, you will regret. And there is no timeline in here, but why not to start now? It's now that you is needed a change. We all came out from a very difficult life experience, which was pandemic. And that changed all of us. We need to adjust to those things. All those changes will carry on coming. But it is on your hands. It's only you who will be able to change your life. We need to carry on fighting. If somebody punches you, well, you need to stand up and then just carry on. Because that way you will be able to be happy. At some point in the future, you will say to yourself like, oh yes, I did what I wanted to do. I tried, I failed, I tried again, and I succeed. And that is reward, that's the most rewarding thing that you can have in your life. But you need to carry on going for it. Life is that. In order to understand happiness, you need to understand sadness. It is not always there in a completely continuous that you are going to be feeling yourself happy constantly. You need to look for it. And you need to face one of your worst enemies, which is yourself. You are the one who is going to start talking and putting yourself down because it's like, no, just stay safe in here. It's like, you have done what you had to do. Your family is happy, your friends are happy, you're happy in theory, but like, are you actually happy about it? Ask yourself that. Get into the habit to be questioning, where am I standing? What am I doing? Am I going into the right direction? And if it's not like that, just take a minute, reassess the situation, and then act on it. It is in your hands. You are the only one who will be able to change it. I've done it. I've seen other people doing it. We all are we're all able to do it. But you need to commit on that. Just give yourself the chance to be the best self of you. So let's work together. Contact me, get in contact. I will just put my details down there. At some point, get in touch with me. Let's work together. Let's start the journey. But it is in your hands now. Thank you.
Right, wonderful. Thank you very much, Fernando. I love saying your name, Fernando. It's a wonderful name that rolls off the tongue. You've got the out-of-the-box.life coach into the chat box just there as well if you want to reach out to Fernando. Follow up, I definitely recommend it. What a wonderful speaker. Great topics, very open person as well. So I love that talk, and I think it's a very important subject to broach upon, and I really appreciate you. So thank you. Good. So we are moving on to our next speaker for the evening, folks. I'd like to welcome on Haz Evans. Now, Haz is a creator, coach, and mentor who has opened people's eyes to a new awakening through conversations.
Emmanuel, I told you not to come in.
I'm just going to mute you, MD. Your microphone is still on. Well, these things happen. And I think Michael's learned his lesson now. So there we go. So I'm going to introduce again Haz Evans as the next speaker. Haz is a creator, coach, and mentor who has opened people's eyes to a new awakening through conversations and movement. She spent the last few years discovering what self-love is to her and is here tonight to share a story. With a speech entitled, "You're a Girl, Your Hair Should Be Long, Society," please welcome Haz Evans.
Thank you. We should all have a lawnmower trimmer as our best friend. I'm going to tell you a story on how a skin fade head shave got I love to dye my hair. One, for me, is a stylistic choice. Two, I like to put it into my pamper routine sometimes. Three, it's a statement. Four, sometimes I'm me down, it feels good. My name is Haz Evans, and this is my alter ego. I am a professional dancer. I'm also known for my bright red hair. Professional dancer, you are known for your talent in that room, your professionalism, and also an aspect of your look. So my name, Haz Evans, as my alter ego, and my bright red hair was my statement. Lockdown. Lockdown was different for all of us. Creative one for me. Creative one for my move with my other two housemates. That was fun. But also during that time through I had a successful surgery on my legs. I have popliteal artery entrapment and compartments. That's just a sexier term for I was born with a muscle at the backs of my legs and I had chronic shin splints. Lockdown was a time for me to look into my recovery. And also, my housemates knew how creative I was with my hair. They led me on to dye it so many colors. Red, of course, bright blue, half pink, half blue, navy, grey, blonde, you name it, I've experimented. We all have things that we lean on, people know us for, and we have. Christmas came last year, falling out. You've probably guessed it's because I dyed it so many times. So I had a full debate with myself whether I was going to shave. I went to the hairdressers. I sat down in the black leather chair, lovely blonde, beautiful lady, sat with me for 20 minutes whilst I debated this big thing. And as I was staring, my heart was racing. I was nervous. So the woman, I cried a lot. I cried but it was the most liberating thing I have ever done. So I stripped back my whole alter ego. As Evans, the red hair was gone. And also I was recovering from a leg injuries. So I felt like my legs away. My name is Angharad. I'm from Wales. I've lived in London for the last 6 years. I had an awakening that Christmas, seeing my physical self still as strong, still powerful, still beautiful, of love. I didn't change. It always came from here. Before, I used to live through my alter ego. But throughout that hair growth and recovery, I asked myself, who am I? What's my purpose? What are my values? These are just first steps into revealing my true identity. As they say, Rome's not built in a day. There's a quote that always stays with me, is by stripping down an image to essential meaning, an artist can simplify that meaning, by Scott McCloud. So it's your choice. You have that paintbrush. You can paint whatever you want on that. Ever those next goals. So I ask you, who are you? Who are to shave your hair off? That's not the point. But I will facilitate in helping you know who you are from the inside. Stripping back, awakening of your own empowerment. I'll leave you with this. Your identity is a valuable possession. Protect it. Elastic. Your alter ego will never truly leave you. It will always be a beautiful, positive part of me. Let me tell you, my red hair doesn't.
Wonderful. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Angharad Evans. Great talk. I think it's powerful to hear again these range of diverse topics from real people that have got again a powerful message of things that they've got to say. Loving the aids and support into the chat box. Lots of love and support from the audience here. Great. Okay, good. Now, public speaking doesn't always need to be for people that are at the motivational speaking level of Les Brown or Eric Thomas. I think it's for everybody. And I think the power of sharing stories like the ones that you're hearing tonight allows you to figure out a lot of things for yourself. And by getting yourself onto a platform and talking about your own ideas, passions, interests, it helps you to cement what it is that you're trying to say, why it is that you care about this thing. And you may then also, mentioned about environment earlier on, become a great environment for other people as well. So I really recommend for a lot of you who are enjoying the talks this evening to have a think about your own journey. Public speaking doesn't need to be you coming into a platform like this. It could be delivering a talk on social media, sharing something you care about. And if you help one person, you can then start this chain reaction. They become inspired, they want to then help other people, and the world becomes a better place. I know it's tough, but as Julie recommended, the Feel the Fear book, but do it anywhere. It's a good point, and I think that more and more as people connect, hear great messages of hope, faith, trust, connection, it's only going to help us all to move forward, becoming leaders of our own environments. Really appreciate all the speakers for this evening so far. And our next speaker is one I've been really looking forward to. Our next speaker is Matilda Legitimus Schleider. Now, Matilda is a professional speaker, social worker, and coach, along with being a founding member of a network for a Bavaria free of racism and discrimination. Also the network for female migrants in Bavaria. Her commitment against female circumcision is an enormously important aspect to her. Matilda was born and raised in Paris, but considers herself a world citizen and Pan-Africanist. Her ancestors were abducted and enslaved in Africa, from Africa in the 17th century on the Caribbean islands, Isles Martinique and Guadeloupe. In 2002, she was the first director of the Migration Services and Counseling Center in Via Covisa for women from Asia, Africa, Latin America, and the city of Munich, with its own emergency accommodation for women and children. At the age of 60, Matilda decided to become a speaker and promote and empower Black and people of color women and work globally. With a speech entitled The Power of Visions, please welcome Matilda.
Thank you. Thank you, Josh. So, hello, everybody. I'm so glad to see you. Thank you, Josh, for the wonderful introduction. My name is Matilda. As Josh said, I'm 60. I turned 60 in February. And that's when I decided to change my life. I've done many things in my life. Can you imagine? I was born in France, raised in Paris, and all of a sudden, I went abroad. It was a big journey. It was not really planned, not even from my family. They were the first surprise to see me willing to go abroad. Yes, my family is Black, as you can see, came from the Caribbean, but my father was raised in Paris and born in 1930 in Paris, in a time where there were not so many Black people around. So I must say, he really had lots of challenges. So his family, my grandmother, his mother, was born in Martinique, which is also a French Caribbean isle. Well, she left Martinique when she was 2, when her mother died, and went to live to her grandma, or let's say more, to her aunt, who was living in Venezuela, Caracas. That's where she grew up and learned to dance, to sing, and develop visions. She wanted to become a great artist. And for that, she needed to move to Paris. Believe it or not, that's what she did at the age of 16. I don't know how she managed to go to the consulate and get her papers and to travel by ship to go to Paris. It was a challenge and a hard life. She managed to dance with Josephine Baker. Then she became an artist. She became an actor. And then she won a prize at the end of 76. Believe it or not, but it's the truth. My father had a hard life, but he managed to become the first Black TV producer in France, in Europe, maybe in the world, in 67, 68. So I'm a lucky one. I've got lots of great people in my family who inspired me and made me believe in myself. So I won a scholarship at the age of 16 to go to Wales, the United World College, Atlantic College in Wales, a wonderful place to be, to meet people my age, between the age of 16 and 18, coming from all over the world. 360 pupils, just like me, coming from Chile, Peru, Burkina Faso, Sierra Leone, Singapore, Thailand, and. It was a great place to be for a Black girl like me who had experienced racism in France, not as much as others, because I had strong parents who taught me how to fight for my rights and to impose myself. But still, so this experience I made in those 2 years in this Atlantic College, living in English, which was the common language, exchanging feelings, exchanging laughters, but also pain and sorrow, homesickness, just taught me that we have a lot in common. So when I went back to France, I didn't want to stay there. I wanted to travel again. But where to? I had German as my first foreign language in my lycée, but I dropped it because I thought, after having been in my history class, watching a film called Night and Fog, a documentary film on German after the Second World War, the discovery of something really awful, the concentration camp, and thinking what the German had done to so many people, Jewish, Roms, Sinti, lots of Black people, even if it's not written in the history books. I didn't think that that would be the right place for me to be. But I had a vision. I wanted to improve my German. So what did I do? I traveled as an au pair at the age of 18. I went to Germany, I thought, for 1 year. 1 year. Imagine. 42 years later, I'm still here. I found a nice German man. Fair hair, white, big smiles. I fell in love. We married, had children, met lots of challenges, but I had a vision. I said to myself, at least I had the choice. I made the choice of coming to Germany. But I saw many people coming from other countries, asylum seekers, refugees. They didn't have a choice. That's how I began to work as a social worker. I knew I can change their life because I'm a facilitator. I'm a love warrior. I am really a role model for a lot of people. That's what I learned from my family, how to become a role model. And that's nothing bad and nothing wrong about it. So I decided to work as a social worker, I was confronted to women victim of domestic violence and all kind of awful things. And I said, that's the right place for me to be a facilitator and a helper. But after having done that for quite a while now, more than 20 years, I decided to move to the next level. And the next level is for me to go and work globally. How to do that best? I have to become a coach. So I decided to invest in myself because I had this vision. I'm a coach now. I'm a coach and I can help a lot of people. I speak French, I speak English, I speak German, and I have really the skill, this calling to help other people. And I can connect well with those people. So I will do it, but I need you for that. I'm not going to do it alone. I want to be a change maker. I want to be the best coach I can be. And I need to connect with a lot of people. My niche, Black women and women of color. Why? Look at me. I'm one myself. So I know what they need. I'm a mother. I'm a daughter. I'm a wife. I'm a friend. I'm a social worker. I've got a lot of identities. So I can connect with them. I can help them to fulfill their dreams, to make their visions become true. I know there are many of you around who might know one woman who needs some support, or who have even the same needs as I had to travel, to go abroad and live in another country. I've done that. I know how it works. 44 years abroad is a long time, 4 decades, and I'm still happy. And I can help you to be happy too. So let's connect with me. I'm also a public speaker, and I can help you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Matilda. A lot of depth in that talk. A person with a wide background, lots of things going on. Love that. Brilliant. Lots of support coming in from the chat box as well, which is great to see. Okay, wonderful. So we're about halfway through now, folks. Halfway through a roster of wonderful speakers sharing their stories. Our next speaker for the evening is Julie Bell. Now, Julie is the training coordinator for the charity Alpha Vesta, as well as being a certified life coach, an NLP and timeline practitioner. Julie's daughter is a survivor of domestic abuse, which is why she and her family are passionate about this particular issue. The charity's mission is to promote awareness, educate on the prevention, and to provide the tools to have successful interventions. With a speech entitled Breaking the Cycle of Domestic Abuse, please welcome Julie.
Thank you for that, Josh. And good evening, everybody. I'd like you all to work with me just for 1 minute and just imagine, if you can, what it must be like being a victim of domestic abuse. You're living in fear every single day. You can't leave because you're too frightened because of the repercussions, which will occur, and they will occur. You're not certain of when the next round of abuse will start, but what you are certain of is who it's from. It could be your partner, a family member, a son, a daughter, or even a carer that you've had come into your home to look after you. I am not a victim of domestic abuse. Our daughter was. Our daughter was regularly beaten. She was verbally abused. She was stabbed, and she was stabbed when she was 8 months pregnant. Now, my family and I, we were not aware of all this until the stabbing. That's when we got down to what had been happening to her. We were devastated. We just couldn't comprehend all what had gone on with her. She covered the signs really well, believing him when he said it wouldn't happen again, how sorry he was, how depressed he was, how she and the baby were the most important people in his life. He would get help. Oh no, he didn't. Not at all. The physical abuse stopped when the baby was born and we managed to get her back to our house, to our home, to our safety. I mean, that's going to be the end of it, right? It will all just stop then. She was out of that situation. Oh boy, how naive were we? This was just the beginning of a catalogue of events that we never, ever imagined. There was emotional abuse. There was stalking. He carried out frightening actions and all through the nights. The mental health issues it caused our daughter was just awful. Eventually, though, our case was heard in court and we did get the outcome we wanted. So I'm proud to stand here today before you all and say our daughter is a domestic abuse survivor. Now, as you can imagine, after what we as a family went through, domestic abuse is very close to our hearts. In fact, any abuse is close to us, which is why I'm honoured to work for a company called Alpha Vesta, whose mission is to raise awareness in the workplace through education, prevention, and early intervention for anyone who may be a victim. And domestic abuse means different things to different people. It's characterised by, and I quote, any incident or pattern of incidents of controlling, coercive, or threatening behaviour, violence between those aged 16 or over who are or have been intimate partners, family members, or carers. But domestic abuse doesn't always involve violence. It can be emotional, psychological, financial, or sexual. But they all have elements of control and coercion. And through my work, the statistics that I've come across are really disturbing, really disturbing. The Office of National Statistics and the NSPCC released figures in 2020 that said 1 in 5 adults and 1 in 5 children would all experience domestic abuse. Now, that is shocking. I'm sure all of you here tonight, you'll agree. And between March 2019 and March 2020, a staggering 1.6 million women and 757,000 men reported domestic abuse. And these are just the ones that are reported. Think of all the ones that we've missed, or the ones that don't come forward. And that These figures are just in the UK. It's frightening. And this crime has been increasing year after year. And with a global pandemic that has literally impacted all our lives over the last 2 years, can you imagine being in that situation? You've got no respite. You're not able to get out to work, to that safe place. You're not around friends, colleagues, and sometimes you're not allowed to be around family. Again, I cannot, as I'm sure you all tonight, you cannot imagine that. As I've said, I'm honoured to be working with Alpha Vesta, being part of a team who are dedicated towards breaking this cycle of domestic abuse. We go out to companies and we deliver workplace training, giving employers the tools, along with their employees, to spot any signs that one of their work colleagues, a friend, or even a family member could be a victim of abuse. And I want to share with you other statistics released from the Home Office in 2019. It stated that £66 billion per year is the national cost of domestic abuse. And out of that 66 billion, 14 billion pounds is at a cost to the economy, which is directly felt by the employer through absence, lower productivity, as well as mental health issues in the workplace. Also, work colleagues who are frightened of the situation, and also low morale across the teams. So you can see how one person being a victim of abuse, how this can have a ripple effect outside of their workplace. We also give employers a strong domestic abuse workplace policy so that employees know where they can go. They can go to someone and talk in confidence. They can even be pointed in the right direction with the relevant organisations which can plan how they can leave their situation to get out of the danger. But obviously, if there is immediate threat to life, we also educate how to deal with that and to make that person safe. It could just be the lifeline that that person needs. So I'm asking you all here tonight, if you, your company, or you know of a company that would be interested in the training we provide, reach out for me just for an informal chat. Surely it's worth a chat, isn't it? Surely it is. How amazing would it be to know that you've taken the first crucial steps in helping someone leave their abuse, rebuild their lives, regain their dignity, and live a life they deserve. You can make that difference. You can save a life. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Julie Bell. Wonderful talk. Lots of airs and support in the chat box there. And again, these topics that are so important to be raised. And I think one of the reasons or things that we can do to raise that awareness is by hearing things like this. And it helps to encourage other people to speak up, to stand up, and then make a change, make a difference, to help other people or help themselves out of something that is needed to be changed. So thank you again to Julie. Love the support in the chat box. And I'm going to move straight into our next speaker for the evening. So our next speaker is Andrew Miles. Following a 30-year career in the City of London, working in trading, broking, and sales training, Andrew has transitioned into coaching after working with people with anxiety and confidence issues. Andrew now specialises in life and career change coaching. He's a certified coach, NLP, and Thailand practitioner also being a member of the Association for Professional Coaching. With a speech entitled The Power of Personal Development, please welcome Andrew.
Thanks very much, Josh. Imagine for a moment that you're on your deathbed. Your time is almost up. You see your life before you, your successes and achievements, and your failures. And yes, your regrets. The things you could have done, but didn't. The things you should have done, but didn't. The things you would have done if only. If only you'd had the time. If only you'd had a big enough reason. If only. Now, I was once like that. No, not on my deathbed, but full of procrastination and delay. Dither, moving from pillar to post, not having much meaning in my life. Yes, I had a good job, but I was living day to day, week to week, with no real purpose. Until one day it all changed for me. Up until then, I had dabbled in self-development, self-improvement. I'd read a few books, listened to the odd CD, but that was about it. There was no real structure to it. Until one day that changed my life forever in the way I looked at things and the way I did things. It was the aftermath of the dot-com boom and bust and the immediate fallout of 9/11. I lost my job. I was made redundant, along with hundreds of others and thousands generally in the banking industry. And it was then that I chose to do things differently. It was then that I set the intention to make plans and to do things in a more structured way. First up, I needed a job. In fact, that was the easy bit. I got one within a week. But it was then that I decided that I would approach my new role in a completely different way. I set goals for myself. I wrote them out. They were structured, they were specific, and they were time-bound. After that, I made a plan for each goal. I wrote that out. Where I was at the moment, where I wanted to be, what help I'd need, who could help me. And then after that, I worked each plan. I scheduled each week and blocked out time to do certain tasks in the day, each day and each week. And slowly, very slowly, some of this stuff began to work. I could see improvements and I could see results. This gave me great encouragement and it allowed me to set even bigger goals for myself. After a while, I took responsibility for a small team. And with those team members, we set goals for the team. Goals for sales targets, client recruitment, and that kind of thing. But I went one further. I encouraged each member to set goals for themselves, personal goals, outside of work, so that they would realize that work wasn't their whole life, but only a part of it. And there was so much more to them that should matter, that could matter, and maybe that should be their focus. After a while, I saw changes in these people. Not only were they hitting their targets, which was a good thing, not only were they getting their bonuses, an even better thing, but they were growing in their whole life. They were becoming greater people than they were before, so that they could do things not only for themselves, but for their family. Some of them went on to do other things. And eventually I left that role too. I then transitioned into coaching. I was working with people with anxiety and confidence issues. Some of those things I'd seen my team members exhibit to start with. The worry, the inability to pick up the phone and make a sale, the anxiety around speaking to someone that they didn't like. All of these things are things that people can get over. And this is when I now help people to change their life direction, to change life direction, career direction, or whatever else they wish to change in their life. How many of you at the moment feel stuck where you are? No matter where you've been, no matter where life may take you, how many of you feel stuck in the here and the now? And how many of you that feel like this would like to change? That you feel that there is something bigger and better for you out there, that you were meant to do something else. If that's you, take it from me, you can change. Yes, you need to take that first step. And it's important that you do. Don't worry about what other people may say to you. Don't worry about what other people may think. What matters is you. And what matters is that you want to change and that you have a big enough reason to change. Your why. Why is it that you want to change? If this resonates with you, and I hope it does, then I would ask you to come on a journey with me. To come on a journey that will allow you to change your life. And what would that mean for you? What would it do for you? What would it allow you to do that you can't do now? And who else would it help? What members of your family, loved ones, even friends? If you change for the better, what would that do for others? You see, it's not just about yourself. It's about the role that you can grow into. A role for yourself and for others. So if that strikes a chord with you, I encourage you to come on this great journey that I and others have taken, and for you too to discover the power of personal development. Thank you.
Fernando, Simpson, and Bergwind. And we're talking about coaching. I think coaching seems to be a big theme in today's session. And it is so vitally important just to have somebody out there, somebody objective that knows how to help people. Being in a relationship with that person, we all want to achieve certain things in our lives, but being around others that can support that achievement, make it easier and help us to see things that we couldn't have otherwise seen are great. People just like Andrew and the rest of them. So I do implore you to reach out and speak to people like this who you want to connect with. If you found that person in yourself, Andrew could be the person to help you cross that bridge. And now another speech that's going to be based around coaching at the, guess what, World Coaching and Leadership Summit is Amisha Patel. Now, Amisha has worked with different South Asian charities and women community groups in Coventry and has done a range of cultural activities providing leadership and motivational to them. Amisha is currently doing the City of Culture projects with all of those people. Her vision is to empower millions of women to follow their passion and fulfill their dreams in spite of having other responsibilities in life. The speech entitled Coaching, a Magical Key to Unlock Yourself. Please welcome Amisha.
Thank you, Josh. Do you all have dreams? Have you ever tried to follow your dream, ambition, or hobby? Do you ever felt the pain of not fulfilling your dreams? Have you ever felt pain of broken ambitions? Do you sometimes wonder that why I'm taking this decision? Have you tried to understand yourself and failed to figure out that what it is that troubling you? Respected Josh, fellow speakers, and wonderful audience. My name is Amisha Patel. Exactly same as Bollywood actress Amisha Patel. But why I'm talking about Bollywood, dreams, and Amisha here? I will let you know in a second. I want you to go back with me a journey. I want you to take this journey with me when I was back in India in my college days. I was a girl who was full of ambition, who was enthusiastic, who wanted to do lot of cultural activities. I was very popular in my college days. I was doing more of cultural events than studies. I was popular back then, and slowly it made me see a beautiful dream. It showed me a beautiful dream of becoming an Indian Bollywood actress. Yes, I had a dream. When I was taking part in a lot of cultural activities, I was getting praised by all the people. All the time, I was thinking that there is nothing that can stop me. I would one day achieve my dream. I'm ambitious, I'm creative, I'm beautiful, and I'm talented, and I'm going to rock the world. Well, there was an opportunity. I have taken part in some of the drama sessions in my college. I've got few trophies. So my principal recommended me to go for an audition. I went for an audition. And guess what? The producer wanted to launch me in one of the television drama. He told my principal that if this girl wanted to work with us, then we are happy to take her as one of the lead artists. She told me after a few days that if you're really interested, I can talk to the producer and here he can launch you. And guess what? I refused. I didn't follow up. I didn't understood my decision back then that why I'm doing this. Few years passed by, my life went ahead. I got married. One day I was watching an award show. My husband told me, do you still want to follow this dream? As he knew about my ambition and dream. I said, no, I don't want to. I again refused. I still didn't understood. This time I was rather confused. Of course, I had my reasons, but those reasons cannot stop me because I was the girl who cannot be stopped by anyone or anything. What stopped me? I didn't realize back then. I was keep on doing my cultural activity, leadership, and motivation. And in 2017, I decided to go on YouTube. I decided to open my channel. I have opened my channel. As I was learning about motivational speaking, I understood that I need to learn something more concrete. I need to learn and understand the mindset that works for different people in different situations. Then COVID came. In 2020, when COVID hit UK, the world stopped. That was my opportunity to learn more about these things. I've started watching a lot of webinars online. And one day I found out about coaching. The more I have learned about it, it was amazed me more. It made me interested to learn more things about coaching. I have figured out through value-based coaching that why I have taken that decision that day. Not only that, it made me understood so many things about myself. It also made me very, very clear that what are my boundaries, what are my real values, and how my decision-making system works. I understood that my career choice was contradictory to my values, and that is why I was not able to follow it through. Not only that, it also showed me a lot of patterns, like why I would love to work with women, why I have these invisible boundaries that I will stick to it. I loved coaching so much that I decided to be a certified coach. I became certified coach. And now I'm helping other clients to unlock themselves, to find that magical key that can find out and answers for you. One of my recent clients told me, and I quote, Amisha, I had so many wow moments during the coaching session, and I found so many things about me. You made me have a 360 view of myself. Through your uncomfortable questions, which helped me a lot in my decision making. Coaching does that to you. It shows you your true values. It can find your true potential. It can help you make right decisions for your life. If you are confused, if you are stuck, and you want to find that key to unlock yourself, I can help you with coaching. Just go to Instagram and follow Motivation by Amisha. Don't forget to DM me. Thank you.
I think you're getting plenty of demands from Instagram there, Amisha. Wonderful talk. Thank you very much. Really appreciate you sharing that talk with us. The audience is applauding, which is great. And feel free to pop that into the chat box, Amisha, just so we know if there's any underscores or whatever that is in, and just follow. And I recommend, obviously, following the speakers that you are connected with. Wonderful. And we're in the home straight now, folks, in terms of the motivation for this evening. You've already been wonderful in terms of the support for a lot of the speakers. As we get into this final chapter of the evening with the final 4 speakers, lots more to come. A very, very powerful speaker is going to come next, and I'll introduce her now. So our next speaker is Jacqueline Bergwind Turner. Now, Jacqueline is a public speaker, life coach, and eclectic therapist of over 33 years experience working as a qualified social worker, NHS forensic learning disabilities, physical disabilities, and adult mental health team senior social worker. Lots of stuff in terms of background. Jackie's been interviewed by the BBC, has worked with restorative justice, the NACRO Crime for Youth, and has won many awards for her contribution to the community, even one from the Mayor of Wolverhampton in 2001. With a speech entitled COVID-19, Life After Lockdown, please welcome Jacqueline. Jacqueline, make sure you unmute yourself just so we can hear you.
Hello, the best at technology, I'm back. Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so glad you could make it here to this place today and make the decision to put you first. Today, I found myself where my emotions were changing more frequent than the weather. My world, the echoes were bouncing in my head like a ping pong ball, and I hadn't even got out of bed. Looking at the floor, feeling so low, I just knew I didn't want to be here anymore. You see, for the first time, I had to unlock that door. I know. Depression, it took over me like a snake. It had wrapped itself around me. Depression, like a camouflage, had taken over me. My life had become broken, no part of me. Raise your hands if you found yourself having to face the fear of the unknown of the last year. You see, as a successful career, woman, motivator, manager, mother, I too found myself trapped in a world just like you. And when I woke up, fear was looking at me too. You see, before I was a successful woman, Jackie Bergwind Turner, the CEO, the social worker, the manager, the therapist. It was me. And this was my whole life. You see, depression had sneaked up on me. I woke up and I was trapped in a moment of sadness. My life going round and round like a merry-go-round. Every day was just the same, dreary. And I just said, it's just another bad day. But this Monday was different. This day was different. As soon as I opened my eyes, I was so overwhelmed. I could feel that I wanted to cry. Fearing the worst, feeling anxious. I forced myself to go out to work that day. And as I arrived, I took a deep breath. Worried that they would see the anxiousness in me. Worried that they could reel the worry on me. Worried that they would stare at me. You see, before I was me, I was that Jackie that looked just like a tree. As I sneaked in the office, tried to get in the door, woof! I was hijacked. It was like hitting the floor. Jackie, I've got a safeguarding. Jackie, I've got a tribunal. Jackie, Jackie, Jackie. I looked in the mirror and I said, Jackie, who the hell is she? I just knew I couldn't do this more. So I walked into the toilet and I shut that door. But as I shut that door, whap, as I hit the floor, for the first time me, I was broken. I'd found me. And I knew I couldn't do this anymore. The noise echoing in my head. I walked back inside, picked my bag up, shut the door, and I never worked anymore. For 6 months, I lied to my friends and my family, driving around using music to block out the sound. Round and round I'd go all day. Nobody knows. But you see, before I was that girl that walked out, I was that girl that faced a tsunami. The whole world had experienced a tsunami. A global spread of pandemic coronavirus had devastating impact on our health and our mind. Ask yourself, has depression become the norm? The stress, anxiety, is that the norm for me and you? Or have we been left behind? You see, now we've got this release days, now we step free. Raise your hands if you've been forced to find the self called me. Changes. Here we are, battling with the after effects and the scars, faced with challenges, stressed, overwhelmed, anxious, making decisions that impact on our families, our jobs, and our mental health. But for the first time in my life, the whole world was equal. Every man, woman and child, all in parents' face at the same time. But the good thing is, not even the wealthy could buy themselves out of this experience. Did you know the first 21st influenza pandemic happened in 2009 and 10 with a record of 100,000 to 400,000 deaths alone in a year? Another survey by the NHS using 996 NHS staff showed 50% had a drop in their mental health in the first 2 months. But this one, the BMA did a survey on all the doctors in the UK, and this was it, 45% of GPs were suffering with depression, anxiety, stress, and other parts of mental health. But for you, you're in the right place today. You see, before I was Jackie, before I was me, I had to turn my crawl into a stand, my stand into a walk, my walk into a sprint, and my sprint into a jump. You see, trapped in a tunnel for over a decade, dark tunnel, not knowing whether I was going to be hit by a train or blinded by the light. This girl had to learn to love herself and embrace her life and own her light. So what I learned today is, we can turn our misfortune to our fortune. After years of searching, 3 years to find me, I created a click method that transformed me. Using a variety of therapeutic methods, delivered therapeutic just for you and me. As a result of what Aubrey's Angels do for women, men who have been left struggling to manage their emotions, feeling fearful, overwhelmed and anxious. In this lockdown, 81% said I drastically changed their life, improved their mental health, rediscovered who they were, learned to manage their emotions, developed self-awareness and a positive mindset. But most of all, they were oozing with confidence and back in the swing of things again. So you see, you're in the right place. Do something great. Turn your fear into fuel. Don't go with the flow and end up where you don't want to go. Embrace change and grow, grow, grow. Jackie Bergwind lives, changing lives and inspiring people. Today, it's your time to be free. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. What a powerful talk that was. I found myself wanting to take action literally right here, listening to that talk. Amazing job. Thank you to you, Jackie. Really appreciate you being here with us. Awesome support from the audience as well. Yeah, love it. Such power, such power. I was having a look through some of the videos and everyone was just nodding along, smiling, raising their hands at the right times. It's great. Okay, good. So our final few speakers for us. The next speaker is Amy Theresa Thayer. Now, Amy is an accomplished freelancer who has worked in the humanitarian field for over 15 years in program management. She has started a new chapter in her life as a career development coach in the humanitarian field. She uses her own life experiences to help you on your own journey. Amy is passionate about the cause of children. She wants to prepare a new generation of international staff who will lead the world in the next generation. If you feel like you can help eradicate global challenges in the area of environment, political instability, poverty, underdevelopment, counterterrorism, protecting children's rights, supporting women, peace, security, and participating in Millennium Development Goals, join her. Amy's looking for a way to educate families to care for our future generations, the children. She can guide candidates interested in humanitarian fields to embrace this career that will guide that future generation. She wants to be the light that illuminates and guides the steps of those young people and people that want to make a career change towards that development and in the humanitarian world. She gives selflessly, and when the going gets tough, we need someone like Amy by our side to cheer us up. The speech entitled World Humanitarian Fields Need You. Please welcome Amy.
Thank you very much, Joss. Good evening, everybody, distinguished guest. I'm here to open your eyes to the great global challenges that affect others and could affect anyone. I have worked for over 15 years in the humanitarian field with a variety of humanitarian organizations in security institutions, as political affairs, in community violence reduction programs, for disarmament, demobilization processes, and counterterrorism. As a program manager in different underdeveloped countries located in Africa and in the Caribbean, with the perspective of contributing a little to the major challenges facing the world. Over my career, I witnessed in 2008 children abused in Haiti through organized adoption, with traffickers kidnapping children for human organ markets, or worse, sold at $50 a child. I have seen in the DRC, in 2013, hundreds of women sexually abused, thousands of communities forced to leave their rich lands to immigrate solely because of their ethnic belongings. I have seen children abducted and forcibly recruited into non-state armed groups. I have seen communities organized to protect themselves because of the absence of state authorities. No police, no army, nothing to protect them from invaders. Yes, I have seen in Chad communities struggling with poverty, with hunger, with insecurity. Why do they have to suffer so much? Only because they were lucky enough to be born in a country rich of gold, cobalt, bauxite, uranium, and diamonds, to name few. Yes, who remembers the movie called Blood Diamond? Tell me, how many of us cried while watching that film? That movie is full of reality. The reality that calls on you for commitment. Some say the harvest is abundant, but the harvesters are few. I'm seeking to train, capacitate, and coach the future actors who will rethink peace in its entirety. A peace that will have a face and an image. The peace that will be you, that will be me, that will be all of us. That is the peace I'm dreaming about. And that is the peace I'm seeking, and that motivates me. I remember when I experienced bombing in Mali, where hundreds of ex-combatants, including children, were killed in January 2017, despite our efforts to enforce peace agreement between belligerents. I have witnessed in Central Africa rebellions, extreme poverty, drought, while their lands were incredibly rich in oil, petrol, gold, etc. I have seen in Haiti children desperately living in organized gangs, let alone who prefer to live in prison because at least one food will be served to them. Others were drug addicted because that was the only way they could get out of poverty. I have experienced community violence in many countries where people used to live in peace and security. I witnessed the 2010 earthquake in Haiti, where 300,000 people lost their lives. Can you imagine? Can you imagine what is it like to survive such a disaster and left alone to be left aside? Today, I'm here to prepare a new generation of international actors who will lead the work in the new generation effectively. If you think you can help eradicate global challenges in the areas of environment, political instability, poverty, and the development, counterterrorism, protecting children's rights, supporting women, peace and security, and even contributing to Millennium Development Goals, then join me. I'm looking for a way to teach families to take care for the next generation. Who are they? Children. Yes, they are the next generation. They form the world of tomorrow. What I'm witnessing all over the world are children left to their own devices, relying on tablets for those who can afford it, on cell phone as an educational tool. Where are we leading? Where are we heading? Many parents tend to leave their children with devices to be comfortable. Oh my goodness. Their social behavior seems questionable to me. Where are we going if the future generation is neglected? Join me in the fighting of the global challenges that affect children everywhere. I am Amy, and I'm here today. I'm here today to let you know that the world is going through challenges. I am in a period where, as a career development coach in the humanitarian fields, I'm using my own life experience to help you through the journey. I'm prepared to guide those interested in humanitarian fields to embrace this career and make them part of the next generation of leaders who will make the right decision for this world. I want to be the light that illuminates and guides the step of young people and people who want to make a career in the development and humanitarian work. Your word counts, your experience counts, your knowledge counts, your ability to contribute to the world counts, and the future lives of people counts. No more hesitation, no more doubts that you can make a difference in the international humanitarian world, that you can make a difference in the peace and security frameworks. I will guide you. My advice will make the difference. My experience, my knowledge, and my motivation make the best of it. Many people have trusted me to embrace this career. Today, their contribution is tremendous. Be part of it, you won't regret. I'm working in an international career to help reverse the trend, reverse inequalities, and contribute to peace and stability for integral development. Only Europe, not Africa, not the United States would succeed in isolation. Your contribution counts. Let's change the world before it's too late. Being in Europe does not prevent the threat of terrorism, nor COVID pandemic. Peace is a long term. Let's prepare a better world for our future generation. This is my call for you. Thank you.
Okay, great. Really powerful speech there, Amy. Thank you very much. Lots of R's and A's in the chat box. As always, bit of a theme here with some powerful talks, especially on, again, these topics that are so vitally important. As all of them have been, but I think when you hear them in this sort of a light, it really makes you question what's being done and how you can make a change moving forward. And for those that want to reach out to Amy, you can literally just message her directly on here and learn how to get more involved with the work that she does. Okay, good. So we're in the penultimate speaker, so the last but not least speaker, before the final one, which didn't come up. Now, the second to last speaker is Jennifer Diver. Now, Jennifer is based in London and has an international presence. She is the preeminent coach, working with people and groups to slay the imposter monster, their personal and working lives and relationships. Jennifer is recognized SME specialist and an expert in growing businesses via finance and operation strategies. Over many years, businesses that she works with have increased their profits due to her helping them recognize that the people's investment is the vital asset to drive growth and well-being. Despite many successes, she has carried a burden of the imposter syndrome. This is formed in early childhood, growing exponentially through a life containing trauma and violence. So much so, she has managed to have she has long managed life with mental health issues. Therapy and understanding was and remains valuable, but coaching has been the catalyst for life-changing experiences to support her focus on the future. With a speech entitled Coaching for the C21st and Beyond, the personal power of your voice, delivering your values and your vision, please welcome Jennifer.
Good evening, everybody. What I'm going to do first is I'm actually going to put my contact details into the chat box. If you get a chance or if you get a moment, look at my LinkedIn page, because that's going to form some of this discussion this evening when I talk about like this imposter monster. Now, I'm going to be honest, there are going to be some of the subjects, some of the things I talk about this evening that you might find triggering. If anybody does, they are going to be related to psychological, emotional, and severe, like domestic violence. It's all severe, so I shouldn't say that. But if you need any help, do speak to one of our earlier speakers, Julie Bell, who works for an organisation called Alpha Vesta, and they can signpost you to the right help that you may need. Anyway, right, I'm just going to share these details. Okay, so coaching for the 21st century this is what we're all here really to talk about this evening. Now, I don't even know why I'm here because I'm a fraud. I'm a fake. Shouldn't be here. Shouldn't be here at all. I've had nerves all night. And I think even sometimes like when you have this imposter monster by your side, around you all the time, you can self-sabotage. I was meant to be on a call earlier this evening here, you know, to get everything going. And I lost my keys. I lost my house keys. Couldn't get into the house. Couldn't get into my tech. And I actually had to go and drive somewhere else. Go and see my friend who holds my keys and then come home, set everything up. So I kind of like, you think, is this self-sabotaging, you know, before you've even started, before you've even got anywhere. And it's like that nasty little voice that's always around you, telling you you're not good enough, telling you that you're not worth it, actually telling you you're not worth anything. Now, it starts off really, part of this is going to be part of like the story, just so you know how I've got to where I am now. And then some of it's going to be like speaking overall about coaching and leadership. So, when I was a little girl, my mother, she had severe mental health issues. She was in institutions, sometimes for many, many months at a time. When I was a very little girl, the doctor and social worker sat down with me and they went, Jennifer, you can't talk to your mummy like other children and little girls talk to their mummy, because it could make your mummy ill. And so at the age of 4, I stopped speaking out. I didn't declare anything about me indoors, and that carried into the outside as well. So there I was from the age of 4, never ever expressing anything I felt or anything that was in my mind, like emotionally. If I was sad, you know, like my kid, I've got children now, and they come to me and I look at them and go, "Is everything okay?" And they go, "No, I'm just having a sad day." Didn't dare. I actually once, flicking a ball bearing around, I swallowed it. I swallowed like a cast iron ball bearing, and I didn't dare tell anyone. And 6 months later, when I was having my appendix out, I was terrified that they were going to find this ball bearing and that I would get into trouble. I didn't dare speak up, didn't dare speak about it. This carries forward, because when you start out this way, this like just goes forward with you, is carried along. And then what you do, you're in other situations, in friendships. You never speak out and you never speak up for yourself. So I had like friendships where they weren't great friendships. They weren't great friends. They weren't right friends for me. You know, they were probably great friends with other people. They weren't, but I didn't have any courage to speak up or speak out. So I stayed in these friendships. It culminated at the age of 16 in 4 girls giving me a beating. You know, so I incurred cuts, incurred bruises. And then I met a boy. You know, he was very sympathetic to what I'd been through with my home and with my friends. You know, I was very isolated, very on my own now, didn't have any friends. And he turned around and he said I could trust him to look after me. I could believe that he had the best intentions, you know, to look after me. He would give me all the emotional care that I'd never received as a child. And I really bought into this. You know, he was very dashing, very charming. I really bought into it. And a couple of years go by. Occasionally it was just like screaming in my face. Being out and being in public one night in a nightclub, he spat in my face. Do you know, I'm even making excuses now saying, you know, he didn't do it. You know, honestly, I hadn't done anything. There wasn't reason. By the time I was 18 and a half, so now there's no parental responsibility anywhere in my life, the smacking started, you know. And then as it progressed, the beating started. He'd literally pick me up. I'm 5'1", he was 6'2". He would literally pick me up and drop kick me. And I tolerated this because I felt I must deserve this. I must be earning this. You know, it's something to do with me. I'm the common denominator here. This must be my fault. I didn't speak up. I told nobody. You know, and back in the 1980s, if you had black eyes, broken nose, people like ignored, you know, they just sort of acted like it wasn't there. So by the time I was 19, this was probably one of the like a severe beating, because obviously they're nice beatings and then there's some severe beatings. And this one day he dragged me across the town square by my hair into a multi-story car park. He stamped on so hard on my chest, my sternum was fractured. He punched me in the nose so hard, my nose just cracked underneath and I could feel the blood. I still can feel what the feeling of blood in my mouth is like. He actually took my own stiletto. Anyway, maybe this might be too much, just maybe too much. But anyway, over all these years, I did get out of the situation eventually, and I'm lucky, and I feel very lucky and very blessed that I got out with my life. I got out relatively intact. And then I had a career. Now, if you go and look in on my LinkedIn page, in 2017, the top banner, that is a picture of me at a garden party being presented to Prince Philip for my work in a charitable organisation. But there's still that time when I'm in these positions. I've helped companies make millions. But I still keep thinking every day I live with this stress and this anxiety. They're going to find out who you are, and they're all going to hate you. They're going to see the real you, and everyone's going to hate you. I have seen that garden party, and I kept thinking, any minute now, they're going to realise that I'm just a fraud. I'm a real fraud, and security are going to take me out. You know, they're going to say, sorry, you have no right to be here. You are not worth it. We're taking you out now. And so I didn't enjoy a great occasion maybe as much as I could. Well, I did by the end because they hadn't actually dragged me out and shoved me out through the gates. But since the age of 25, on and off, and mainly more on than off, probably about 3/4 of that period between 1989 and like now, I've been in therapy. I've had, like, once had a therapist for probably about 7 years. And others, I've used them for specific issues, like some fear issues and everything else. And they've been marvelous. Therapy really does have its place. But you're always deep diving back there. You know, you're thinking about what happened. You know, you're therapy was trying to rationalize my feelings towards what had happened to me. And then very, very recently, and it was only this year, you know, I found that coaching, I'd actually coached people in my work, but I didn't really know that was what it really was, and I wasn't qualified as such. Anyway, so I was on this like course for coaches, an intensive, really diving. So every day you've got people coaching you back, and it was like a whoosh, not just a swish for anyone who's like done coaching training. It was this huge wave coming over me. I actually saw a future. I actually was getting my voice back. People were prepared to listen to me. They were prepared. They were hearing me. Like, it was the first time in my life they were hearing me. And it was like, so this is what coaching has done for me. I have done more on myself and work in the last about 2 months than I had in probably 30 plus years. And it's like I see a future. I'm planning a future. I'm connecting with people. Now, this is what coaching and leadership is about. It's because changes like that, you coach somebody to get rid of that fear, get rid of that guilt, get rid of that, help them get rid of that shame. You know, they don't get rid of it, but they can manage it. And these changes are then generational. That's why I call myself a 21st century coach, because by making these changes in this century without these generations, that's going to last into the 22nd century, into the 23rd century. And it's like, yeah, it sounds sometimes woo-woo, but it's kind of like, you know, and this is where we are the coaches. We get coaching, we train to be coaches, and we are the leaders. Now, after COVID, the world has changed so much. It's like a massive reset. And we talk about these mental health issues, and people are more open about them. And instead of just sticking everybody onto drugs and therapy, and the therapy, you can have coaching working alongside therapy, but only with the therapist's recommendation or doctor's recommendation. That's what I would always say to a client first, if they're in that position. And because you're giving them a plan to move forward while they're working on this side. They're setting targets, defining goals. They have, say, security points or little anchors that they can hold on to that direct them and guide them back into their plan. We have to be these coaches, and we have to be these leaders. So we need to be talking about it now, as much as we can, as often as we can. And I think at this point, that's probably me done for this evening. But do connect up, you know, follow, because that's what we're all here to do. You can find me on those links and you know, we need to connect each other. We can't operate in silos. We need to be connected. So I'm Jennifer Diver, and I'd like to thank everybody for their time this evening. It's been a great evening. Thank you.
Right, wonderful talk. Thank you, Jennifer, for your speech. Really appreciate you for being here this evening for our second to last talk of the event. The audience has really appreciated that. Lots of applause coming in. And we are at that stage, folks, the stage where we've got our final speaker, the one that you've all been looking forward to. Our final speaker is Cherlene Nelson. Now, Cherlene is a professional coach and a public speaker, providing holistic and tailored services to clients in all areas of life. Life coaching is about transformation. It concentrates on the person's whole life, guiding clients to find their answers, to live their best life. Her goal is to help people to achieve outstanding results and live a fulfilling and rewarding existence. Her reward is seeing her clients getting the transformation that they have been absolutely dreaming of. With a speech entitled, Let's Talk About You, please welcome our final speaker, Cherlene.
Let's talk about you. Life coaching can seriously change your life. There is a simple formula that can change your life forever. All you have to do is to commit with your heart for changing your life. I have a wealth of experience working as a social worker, a coach, and a public speaker. I have worked with a large number of children and families dealing with separation and loss, domestic violence, bereavement, family breakdown, just to name a few. I'll tell you a story. I have worked with a 5-year-old unaccompanied minor girl who came to the UK. She was separated from her family. She was the youngest client I've ever worked with. English was not her first language. She was left outside of my office door. She was frightened. She was hungry. She was tired and confused. When I saw her, my heart fell. When she saw me, she rushed into my arms as though she knew me. Through the aid of an interpreter, she told me her name. She also told me that her mother, sadly, had died during the journey. I found her a foster carer. Fortunately, the foster carer spoke her language. That was the beginning of our journey. This story resonates with me. I was able to identify with this young girl. Although I was not an unaccompanied minor, like her, I had to leave my family, my friends, my familiar behind. I felt lost. I was confused. Can you imagine what it is like to be separated from your family, your friends, and your familiar surroundings at the age of 5 years old? I want you to imagine the fear that child felt. Through my work, I enable this young person to complete her education, to follow her dreams of becoming a nurse. Fortunately, she still lives with the foster carer, and she has made tremendous progress. But can you imagine the trauma that she went through? And she has overcome that. This and other experiences that I have had in my previous job and in my life has inspired me to becoming a coach, to helping my clients to achieve the best outcomes and fulfill their dreams. During the past 18 months, we've all been impacted by COVID. My most recent clients have been workers from the front line, nurses, doctors, teachers, social workers, students. One of my clients, who is a student, she is struggling to adjust to lockdown and working from home. She told me, I know what I should do to make my life better, but something is holding me back. I used a powerful technique that enabled her to set her own goals and return to her studies with a timeline to complete and graduate. Her mother is keeping her accountable to complete her goals. When I hear that, it fills my heart with joy. The people I have worked with shared their experience with me of the impact my coaching technique had on them. These feedback has encouraged me to empower my clients to create many changes in their lives, because I have experienced many things in my life which they have been through. My reward is seeing my clients getting the transformation they have been dreaming of for a very long time. Are you at a point in your life where you are feeling lost, confused, conflicted? Do you feel like you are disconnected from yourself, your family, and your friends? Are you feeling a lack of motivation or trying to find your purpose in life? Do you yearn for the perfect partner or for the perfect job? Do you want to take your life to the next level? I can help you to fulfill your dreams, to live your best lives. Thank you.